Hi, and welcome to the Tales of Lost. I was checking my old notes about what to tell next, and I found the story of the Shoemakers, which was one of the first stories I wrote before I started this channel. I like when some stories give some variety or more like an umami flavor to the whole concept like this one. This group of people also gives a good diversity in this world, and their story helps me reveal more of how this world affects the living beings. On this video, you will see different designs of their appearance because they can be present all over the land and they live as individuals. This story started with one individual obsessed with an idea, and this obsession turned him to best trekker ever lived. He spent his whole life searching for a mystical being, teaching his abilities to the people he thinks will help him. It's not one individual story, but this group of people call them not by his name, but his profession, which is the shoemaker. So let's begin with how this all started, and with some hints of how their ability works. Have you ever been obsessed with something you have seen once and wonder how that thing happened or got to the point you've seen? This is one of those stories everything goes as boring as it is and something happens and all your life has changed. It all started with one shoemaker's life twisted by his fate. Any other end of the day, the shoemaker prepared to go back home. Was it the call of the event that changed his life or not? He decided to take the long way through the forest this time. When he was close to his home, his left foot slipped through a small path, and down below he saw a footprint of someone or something under the bushes he had never seen before. He could ignore it, but he did not, and was amazed by how this print preserved almost perfectly. It was obvious it didn't belong to his world, and its mystery put a spell on him. He tied a shoelace to a branch of a tree next to the footprint and ran to the home to collect all the tools he needed to dig this footprint and bring it home. He managed to assemble a frame to preserve the print as it is and carried it home carefully. He continued his life as it was, but going back home was more exciting now because he can go back home and watch his precious finding for hours. He started to take measurements and made sketches, imagining how this foot looks like and what kind of living being has this foot. He even started to create a shoe for this mysterious being. One day, after he got back home, before he turned his gaslight on, he saw a tiny blue sparkles on the footprint. He approached his table slowly, and this sparkling dust looked like it was spreading over the footprint and getting brighter. He got his lantern and ran back to the spot that he found the footprint, and there it was, a dim trail of shimmering dust going through deeper into the forest. He followed the trail, hoping he would find more footprints and maybe finally meeting with this being, but after hours of walking, he came to a dead end. His excitement turned into panic, and he started to look for any residue of the rest of the trail, but he couldn't find it. It was almost morning when he got back home, heartbroken. Next morning, he went back to his shop and was sitting alone doing nothing. His neighbor, who was an optician, visited him with a wonder why he didn't greet him when he came to his shop. The optician was shocked by the giant shoe he saw on the shoemaker's workbench. The shoemaker hesitated to explain it at first, but then he told the whole story to his friend. The optician got more curious and wanted to see the footprint. In the evening, they both headed to the shoemaker's home. The optician expected to see the sparkles, but he couldn't see them. At that moment, the shoemaker got an idea. What if his friend combined these sparkles with the glass to create goggles to see the magical dust? After the optician left, the shoemaker headed back to the forest and collected all the dust he could possibly collect, so they both started to work on those lenses the next day. After a few trials, the optician managed to create the lenses. When the optician looked through the lenses, he was disappointed one more time, not to see anything, but on contrary, for the shoemaker it was mesmerizing. He saw a full spectrum of colorful dust around him. There are so many traces of every living being everywhere. He took one of those lenses, ran back to a place where it all started, but the result was the same. Traces were stopping at the same point. Next day, he asked the optician to make more lenses for him so he can travel the world and find people like him and seek any traces of this mystical being with others. After all the preparations, they greeted each other one last time and the shoemaker's journey had started. The shoemaker's search might have left him unanswered about this mystical being, but he had so many people who had the same ability to see traces of the dust. He was the only person who saw people's aura who has a potential or not, and showed them the lenses and explained his lifelong desire. There were some people who got interested and some not, but overall it was enough people to continue. His obsession with this mysterious being turned him mad, and one day he disappeared on one of his expeditions, and no one ever heard anything from him ever again. Others tried to follow his dust, but like the mysterious being, his traces stopped where his last footprint was found. His believers took his last footprint, brought it to his home, turned his house into a sanctuary, and the headquarters of their group called the Shoemakers. And that's it. Thanks for hanging around. Make sure to like the video, don't forget to subscribe, and until the next one.